I'm Paul DiRienzo, and we have a great show for you on fracking. And JK Canepa, welcome back to a show.
Hello.
And JK really knows a lot about fracking and about this issue, and we're looking really forward to learning about it. And it's not pretty by any means.
Oh, so dirty.
I know. Fracking. Let's begin, JK, with what is fracking? What does it entail?
Fracking. So we've been fracking for a long time. Fracking is you stick a tube in the ground and you fracture what's down there and you suck it up.
Okay.
Oil, gas. A long time compared to what people talk about when they say fracking today is very specific, further intensification of the process.
Okay.
So for a long time, so I don't know, 20 years.
Okay.
We started to run out of the easy stuff, the gas and the oil that you just suck up with a straw.
Sure.
And we started having to fracture what was underground. So gas is locked in shale. And it's kind of like bubble wrap. It's little pockets.
Okay, that's a good way to think about it.
Right.
Bubble wrap with little pockets of gas that's underneath us, underneath our feet.
Well, not our feet. We live on crystal. We live on a quartz rock.
Okay.
Manhattan, very
Near
special.
Manhattan. Okay.
But there are deposits of gas, of natural gas in shale all over the world. Australia has a lot. British Isles, and all over the United States. There's a big formation called the Fracking Shale up in North Dakota. That's mostly oil covered with a lot of gas.
Oil
mixed
shale,
in.
they call it.
Yeah, it's not the tar sands. That's another story. We'll come back for that one another time.
Okay, wow, all these
that's
things.
A whole half hour.
That's coming all at once, right?
That's called extreme extraction of unconventional fuels. So you chop off the head of a mountain in West Virginia, and you get to the coal.
Okay. What do they call that?
Mountaintop removal.
Okay.
You deep water drill where man has never drilled that far into the ocean floor before.
And we saw what happened last year with that.
And the whole
2 years ago.
bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, 2010, the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico is broken. It's broken.
Okay.
Or
from oil settling down on the ground there and covering it.
Right. Broken from what those deep water drills are cracking open the bottom of the seafloor.
Actually cracking the seafloor open.
Right.
So fracking and cracking.
Right, unintentionally.
Right.
So fracking, so this is unconventional fuels because the oil and gas fossil fuel companies are getting desperate to get the hard stuff out. Tar sands. You have to deforest boreal forest in Canada. You have to strip it down really, really deep beneath the ground to get to this cakey stuff that's part sand, part clay, part tar. It's not fit to run in a pipe. It's way too thick and way too dirty and way too corrosive. So it gets refined all the way down.
Oh, as it refines from step to step?
Refine and refine and refine till it's ready to flow through a pipe. That's another. We'll do that another show.
Fascinating.
Right.
Okay, fracking now. It's associated in my mind Pennsylvania, and also they want to do it in New York, but somehow what's happening with that? It's coming to New York, and why is it a danger if it comes to New York? Particular danger.
Well, there's this formation called the Marcellus Shale, and underneath that is an even older formation called the Utica Shale, right? Pennsylvania had a lot of coal, so did West Virginia. Coal is what happens when plants compress, the carbon compresses, and it becomes peat, and then it becomes shale, and then it becomes coal. Soft coal, and then hard coal, and then it becomes diamond eventually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the story of carbon.
Right.
So Pennsylvania's got this... we've taken a lot of the coal out of Pennsylvania, but there's still the shale that hadn't become coal yet.
I see.
And it's locked in with methane gas and natural gas. Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, it travels all the way down to the tip of Tennessee, and it goes up into New York State.
Okay.
So this is called the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. We have the mother lode.
Okay.
It's just very, very thickly enriched with natural gas.
Now, isn't that good that we take natural gas, because natural gas is
natural.
Natural, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't...
It's clean burning.
Clean
The
burning.
little blue flame.
Right. You have it in your stove, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of
it is pretty clean burning. Actually, yeah, when you light natural gas, it doesn't emit very much.
Right.
But it's methane. And methane depends on how long you measure the methane. Methane goes out of the atmosphere pretty fast. So if you let a whole lot of methane out, a lot of cows burped, let's say.
Yeah, and they do.
And then they died or stopped burping.
Sure.
The methane would make a big presence in the atmosphere, and then it would dissipate, and then it would be gone.
But it's lighter than air.
But if you're constantly emitting methane, it's 100 times the greenhouse gas that carbon dioxide is if you measure it for 20 years. 70 to 100 times as bad as carbon dioxide. If you measured methane for 100 years, it's still about 20 times as intense a greenhouse gas. It warms 20 times as much as carbon dioxide. So Obama's climate speech was, we've got to cut back on our carbon dioxide. You can't cut back on your carbon dioxide if you're adding methane, and that's what he's been pushing. He's been pushing natural gas. So Pennsylvania has it, and they've been fracking in Pennsylvania. They've fracked, I think, 1/10 or to 100th as much as they want to frack.
How do they frack? How is that done?
So fracking used to be to get to those air bubbles, those little pockets. They would send a tube down.
Sure.
And they'd put a concrete sleeve around it. They would poke a few holes in it. They would pour a mixture of water, drinking water, water.
That they would get from...
They take it. It's called water withdrawal permits. They take cities, townships. They ask them if they want to buy some water. They take each fracking well. I'll get to that in a second. They take drinking water. They take sand to add grittiness to it, and then they take chemicals to make a nice explosion. And these chemicals are proprietary. So
proprietary means?
That means that the companies, you can't expect us to give you our formula. Does Coca-Cola give you the formula?
So how do we know when it's
mixtures? Well, we know there's toluene, and we know there's benzene, and we know there's formaldehyde, and even things that sound kind of innocuous, like citric acid or ascorbic acid. I'm not sure which one. When it mixes with those other chemicals, it becomes a problem of itself. These things mix together. So they pour the chemicals down, and it flows through the pipe, a vertical pipe, which is the older method, and then they send down the explosive, boom, and then they suck it back up, and you've got methane, and you've got it. Most of the water stays down, never to be seen again. The water that comes up has those chemicals mixed into it.
Where does it go, the water that comes up?
In Pennsylvania, they've been letting them pools of fracked water. They call it produced water to make it sound less. Produced water. Less. They said less that of a red alert. They said that was Hanford and Savannah River. Yeah, same word. The production. Produce. Yeah. It's kind of like collateral damage or neutralizing people. Or produced water. It just sits in these open tanks and pools and ponds, and then birds don't know they land on it. It's very, very, very toxic and corrosive. So there are families in Pennsylvania who are getting sick, who can't drink their water. There's a truck driver in Pennsylvania who has radiation sickness. He's trying to prove it. And how did he get it? Well, that's the other part of the story, is that the Marcellus Shale is very high in radon because it's high in uranium. What's radon? Radon is a gas that is emitted in the presence of uranium, and all shale has some uranium, but our Saudi Arabia of natural gas is also rich in uranium. We never mined for it, but it's there. So by blasting, you not only release natural gas, but you're releasing a naturally occurring radioactive gas that's usually... It mingles with the methane, and it comes up, and it's in the water, and it's in the gas that they extracted. So the gas is radioactive. The gas is radioactive. Lovely. Now, our gas that we're getting from our stoves and our boilers and our everything, that gas is also from shale. It's from Gulf of Mexico mostly.
Right.
And it's also starts out radioactive, but not so much. Maybe 120 times less radioactive than the gas from the Marcellus. The Marcellus is quite intense. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We had to test our basements
for radon.
For radon, radon gas.
Upstate New York too. I've heard of that.
Upstate,
yes, absolutely.
Well, we don't know about it in New York City. Only Staten Island might have some of that problem.
You know, it's interesting because we were discussing earlier how I had done some research and found that there actually in the 1950s was a type of fracking that was done with an atom bomb. They tested it in New Mexico where they drilled a gas well way down thousands of feet deep, and then they literally dropped, or my understanding is they actually shot a nuclear missile downward with the motor and everything, and it went
dropping isn't enough.
Right, no, they had to shoot it down.
I would think dropping an atomic bomb.
They actually took a real, like an atomic missile and shot it down the wall, you know, from the defense, Defense Department was involved. And it went down and exploded with several times the power of Hiroshima. And it created, for a split second, a gigantic cavern that instantly collapsed on itself. And it produced a huge amount of gas came out of it.
When it collapsed on itself, right?
The gas just shot up, right? And they mined the gas.
Wow.
And it was really radioactive, intensely radioactive, unusable. It's amazing they didn't realize that would happen. And they had to actually capture all that gas and not let it into the environment because it's dangerous to the scientists working there. And I'm not sure, I think they might have burned it. They can't burn the radon. So they're trying to basically dissipate the radon and the radioactive, an atom bomb goes off, it makes many radionuclides, they call them.
They're called daughters.
All kinds of cesium, strontium, iodine, everything. And so nobody knows. It's a mix, a crazed mix of stuff. So who knows? Some of it lasts a few seconds, some of it could last 1,000 years.
And we had just entered the atomic age.
Right.
So we'll say that they didn't know.
They didn't know.
Or they were learning.
They should have known.
But they know now. And so now this radioactive gas travels.
Well, this is naturally radioactive as opposed to making it radioactive purposely.
Right.
Right, in that case. But in this case,
and knowing.
Right, in the past. But now it's natural occurring radiation. Okay.
Right.
Now, why don't we have...
Well, so we didn't get to horizontal hydrofracking
yet. Right. Okay,
so
let's go.
Problem
so vertical turns to horizontal, right?
Started it about 5 years ago when somebody invented a way of taking that pipe that goes down a mile or two and turning it. So it can go 5 miles out. It can actually go 5 miles out in many directions. So it's under the neighbor.
So they can go horizontally. They don't have to just drill up and down, but they can drill down and then horizontally.
So this farmer who's having a hard time and he's leasing his property to the gas company to drill, the gas company is now going under the neighbor's property, and the neighbor's water. Maybe that's where the fractures get into the water. Those fractures that are created by the explosives, we haven't completely mapped. It's impossible to completely map all the fissures and fractures of the shale. Shale is very webby.
Right.
And so if one of the little poofs of explosions goes up and travels up a fissure, it can go into the groundwater. And indeed, that seems to be what's happening to people because their kids are passing out in the showers in Pennsylvania. And
so the gas is getting into the water supply through...
Not just the gas. The gas is methane in the water supply, not a good thing, but it's not a killer. But the butane in the water supply or the formaldehyde in the water supply are these heavy things that you make nail polish remover with.
Really dangerous.
Or you do a dead body with in your
Some of the
water
carcinogenic
supply.
Formaldehyde, I believe, is carcinogenic.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
That's why
so
I don't use it.
And what is this? Is it true that people's water? I mean, is this just something that's used to scare people, or is it true that there have been incidents where people's water has actually
caught on fire?
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's Gasland 1.
The film Gasland, right?
Shows the guy, Fox. What's his first name?
Yeah.
Josh Fox.
Joshua Fox.
Josh Fox, musician, lives up near the border between Pennsylvania and New York. Started to hear that the fracking was coming to a farm near him, and he made a documentary called Gasland. He just did another one called Gasland 2. Gasland is about the people and how they've been affected. Gasland 2 is about the mechanisms, how government and industry work together to frack everybody up.
Frack us up, huh?
Frack us up.
Get fracked?
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
No fracking way.
Well, what about foreign oil? I mean, we'd be devil's advocate. Foreign oil, we're not buying as much oil from other countries. It's domestically produced. I mean, isn't there, we like our computers with all this technology and electronics and electric things. I mean, what are we going to turn it all off?
I'm so glad you asked me that one.
Yeah.
There's a professor at Stanford University. His name is Mark Z. Jacobson. And he just, a few years ago, he did a global study of potential for renewables. We're not ready for renewables. Sure. We can't do that yet. We need a bridge fuel. Gas is the bridge fuel. You tell me that you're going to invest in all these frack wells and pipelines, and you don't expect them to stay around for a long time.
Right.
Anyway, he kind of said, well, how come Denmark and Germany are doing it? How come even California is the #1 state in the United States on solar, and New Jersey is #2? How come?
For alternative energy.
Yeah. So he did a study on wind, water, solar. Wind, water, solar. He didn't even look at things like biodiesel. Wind, water, solar. And he said, well, by 2030, we could go wind, water, solar, 100% globally, and here's how. And then he focused his attention on New York State. And last November, he presented his work. He did it with this guy, Tony Ingraffia, and Robert Howarth of Cornell, so 3 heavy hitters. They did a peer-reviewed study on New York State going wind, water, solar, and how the state would save money.
Sure.
It would save money, and we could be 100% by 2030, but we have to get started
doing renewable
now.
Energy.
Right.
Solar, wind,
right,
etc.
So oil, what do we use it for? We use it to heat our homes. Bloomberg thinks we should use gas to heat our homes because it's cheap. However, if we start exporting the gas prices are like $3 or $4 a million BTU. And in other countries, Japan, it's like $12 to $13 a million BTU. So it's like 3 times as much money if we put this gas on the market. But how do we get the gas to Japan? Right. Pipelines coming through New York State. So we've kept Cuomo from opening up New York State to fracking. It's a miracle. Last Labor Day, 2012, he had his speech written, his speech explaining how he was going to open up fracking in the southern tier, the 5 counties above Pennsylvania.
Sure. Along Highway 17, really, if you ever drive out that way. Right.
And he was going to
Binghamton.
use that to see how those counties would prosper economically, and how they would be able to deal with the effects of fracking, how safe fracking could be done properly. He had regulations written out, and that was a year ago. And so, he didn't mention fracking in his speech
Why do you think he's backing away?
Thousands of people kept going to Albany. Right. Guy wants to be the president. You have to carry your own state. He's got the Senate. He's got heavy fossil fuel company influence. Telling him, you've got to do it. You can't sit on that gas.
Oh, I see.
And he's got
all this
the people.
Wealth.
Got the dairy farmers. He's got the beer and wine, the wine industry, upstate New York. This is what New York is known for. So, the truck farming, the cheeses. So he's neither been able to open up the state to fracking nor to ban fracking. He can't ban it. The legislature has to ban it. But he hasn't been able to really make a move because he wants to be president.
It's like a stalemate right now. So a stalemate is good, and it stops fracking, but you never know what could happen, right? It could change.
You must remain vigilant. Meanwhile, gas leases, as long as we're in the stalemate, some of those gas leases have been put on hold so that clocks stop ticking. it's very tricky, you know, for this
Who's
kind of stasis that
where
we're
do we
in right
keep? Is there a website or where people can learn more about this and stay tuned, especially if they're concerned with what we're hearing? There should be. Where can they call and get connected and work on against this if they feel it so moved?
My favorite website is saneenergyproject.org.
saneenergyproject.org.
Right, and we mostly talk about the pipelines coming in, but the background of fracking is all there. It's a very comprehensive website.
Okay, we were talking about New York City before.
Yeah.
All right, and New York City, and I think you have a photograph or a drawing here, an image. There's actually plans. All the natural gas mania that's striking now. To move natural gas, you need pipelines, and there's pipelines going in all over the place. And you're talking about one of them here, a major one right here, right?
Right. We've been really focusing on two of them. One of them, a few, like 20 blocks south of here, 30 blocks south of here, that has almost been completed. It would start production. It would start running gas in November. This is 2013.
What's that one called?
The Spectra.
Spectra.
And then while we were focusing on the Spectra, along came the Rockaway pipeline, which had to get special approval by the Congress and Obama to go through a national park.
This is Brooklyn, Queens, and this black line. What is that black line?
So this green strip here is the Rockaways.
Yeah.
And this black line comes all the way down the East Coast. It originates down in the Gulf, maybe even further than that. It belongs to a company called Williams Transco, Transcontinental. So Williams had
it's a pipeline.
It's a mother pipeline. It's called a transmission line.
A mother pipeline.
Yeah.
Where are the babies?
Here's the baby right here.
The baby is there.
So this was the application that was made, and if you can see that it's cutting through the Rockaways in a very dark green place, that's Gateway National Recreation Area.
Okay.
And that's Floyd Bennett Field, part of Gateway.
Sure.
And over here we have Jamaica Bay, all that green is part of Gateway. It's the state only has one national park, and it's Gateway.
Right.
And it was built in '72, but Floyd Bennett Field is the oldest airport in the country. So this is very special. They finally were able to restore Jamaica Bay, so we have species there that are nesting and migrating that are just coming back.
So this pipeline, where is it supposed to go? When it goes through, it goes into Brooklyn.
Oh, this is a very tricky thing. This pipeline is an exercise in very devious machinations. Thank you. So this, I don't know if you can see it, but this is dark blue, and this is red. Should be red. And this blue is the part that would belong to this company, Williams, and is waiting federal approval. This red part that comes right off of the Rockaways, the bay side of Rockaway, underneath the Rockaway Inlet, under the Gil Hodges Memorial Bridge, under a bridge, a pipeline, 960 pounds per square inch pressure
under
of
a
26-inch diameter pipeline under one of the only bridges in the Rockaways that has only one hospital left, goes into Floyd Bennett Field, makes a little detour here into the old airplane hangar for a metering and regulating station, where they meter this pressure, 960 pounds. How much is coming in at this exact second? Okay, now we're going to regulate it down to 350 so that it's allowed to come into the city.
Okay.
So when it gets down to 350, it moseys on back to this section, which is National Grid pipeline. It's all one pipeline. You can
and that's
see
under
that.
What street? That's under
Flat. It goes right up Flatbush. We watched. We saw the pipes laying along the lane of the outbound traffic. You know, you can
so
see them.
people are driving over a 300 pound per square inch.
350, but that is what we do all the time, all over the city. It's tamped down to 350 and then further down. But the question here, couple of. One of them is, how come there are two different jurisdictions? Why is this city and why is this federal?
Okay.
It's one pipeline. It should be federal. It should be overseen. The inspections are once every 7 years. You're inspecting a pipeline that's being operated by remote control in Texas.
Okay.
It's inspected
That's where
every
the gas
7
comes
years.
from.
big question, we're in a hurricane zone. And this metering and regulating station in the airplane hangar is on sea level.
Sure.
It's 16 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
The water reached 14 feet. Does the federal government and does the gas company intend to promise us that the water will never reach any higher than it did last fall? Hurricane Sandy, it surged to 14 feet. Now, there's a regulator valve. So when the gas is metered, then the valve will open and shut accordingly to get it to the right pressure. If we have a big influx of water or even wind, and that station is not high enough, it could blow that valve open. And then you've got 960 pounds shooting into the system that isn't built for it.
Okay.
So we have a lot of questions about this pipeline. So
what happens when we only have a couple of minutes when a pipeline fails? It's quite
80 explosions in 2012 alone. 80 in the United States. Some of them were just little accidents, and some of them killed a lot of people.
Wasn't there one upstate New York? Wasn't there one, or near Canada? In Canada, right? Oh, that was a, no. I'm sorry, that was a.
There was one in Allentown. There was one in San Bruno. There's one in San Bruno. In
I was thinking of a train that exploded that was loaded with chemicals,
and
natural gas. But you could get the idea when these chemicals explode, they really explode.
Family of 12, a whole family of 12 in Carlsbad, New Mexico.
Sure.
Right.
Wow.
So there's two websites.
And that's why under a bridge, because it's one bridge, flames.
Can you imagine?
Well, they've had gasoline trucks explode under bridges, and the bridge is out for 6 months or a year. So.
And Floyd Bennett Field has just a few working fire hydrants. Most of their fire hydrants don't have enough pressure.
So a lot of questions about this pipeline that's going through the Gateway National Monument there.
Right, National Park. So our website is really easy. I just gave a different one for information.
Yes, give yours now. We only have a minute.
CARP, like the fish, ny.org. www.carpny.org.
What does CARP mean?
Against the Rockaway Pipeline.
Coalition Against the Rockaway Pipeline.
Right, it's all there.
Okay.
We're fighting.
Just type Coalition Against the Rockaway Pipeline and you'll know. All right,
I have one last really important.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing is that there is a liquefied natural gas port being proposed off of Jones Beach, Long Beach. You need to call Cuomo. Call Cuomo. I don't have his number.
Okay, they'll find it. Cuomo, the governor.
Call Cuomo and say veto the Port Ambrose LNG plan. Veto the Port Ambrose LNG plan, because this would send the gas out to
Thank you very much
for
joining us, for JK
South
Canepa.
Carolina.